Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Shamiriel. If this is your first time here, and I thought I'd do something a little different on my channel. I usually talk about makeup, vlogs, all that stuff. And I mentioned to you guys a while ago that I used to work in TV news and that I don't anymore. And it was asked why I don't do it anymore. And then I realized that this mukbang videos, those were kind of popular. So I thought while I'm having... It's 5:13, so I don't know if this is dinner or a late lunch, but while I'm eating, I would discuss with you all why I left the business. I am having leftover hibachi. I had hibachi Friday night, so, you know, obviously you gotta eat it kind of quick before it goes bad. So that's what's happening here. And I'll just show y'all in case you care. I don't want to spill, but it's shrimp hibachi, shrimp, broccoli, carrots, I was about to say marshmallows, mushrooms, zucchini, rice, and some noodles. So I want to try to do my best to talk and eat. I'm really hungry, so hopefully it'll all work out. Hold on, first let me say my grace. Okay, so I have 10 reasons why I left the business. And just to give you a little background, I worked in TV news for 10 years. I worked in TV stations in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, New Bern, North Carolina, Huntsville, Alabama, Raleigh, North Carolina, and then I even did a small stint at a station in Atlanta. Which is where I live now. So let me go ahead and break it down for y'all. So at first, when I first started my career, I started off behind the camera, and I had to work my way from behind the camera in production, doing teleprompter, cameras, like studio cameras, audio, all that stuff. So I literally started from the bottom and I worked my way to the top. Or the top. So one of the first reasons why I left the business is because the hours. Just because they say on your schedule that you're working from 9 to 6 does not mean you get off at 6 o'clock, because the news is on at 6 o'clock. So you show up at 9, or if you're smart, a little before 9, but you do not get to leave at 6 o'clock. Now, it's not always that way. It depends on your story. Depends on the other news of the day and other things that may be happening, but most of the time you don't get to leave when your schedule says you can leave. Now, if you're paid by the hour, then good for you, because you're reckoning the overtime. But if your salary, like most companies, they will take advantage of that if your salary, because that pretty much means you're their bitch. So that's pretty much reason number 2. That's pretty much reason number 1. And the hours can be brutal. I know some people who work from 3 a.m. until noon. And I did do that shift a couple of times in my career, and it was painful. My body couldn't get used to going to bed super early and waking up super early. I locked myself out of my car one time working that shift because my brain was just like, why am I up? What are you doing? Reason number 1. Reason number 2, story ideas. That was one of the hardest parts of my job, was coming up with story ideas. Most reporters have to come up with their own stories. And if you're just starting out, that can be hard, because you don't know what type of station you're working at. Like, you're still trying to learn what constitutes news to them. You're still trying to build your contacts. You're still trying to just figure it out. And especially when you're new and when you're just starting at a station, that can be the hardest time to come up with story ideas, because they expect you have a meeting every morning where you pitch your ideas And then sometimes, even though you have an idea, they may not like it. And then they look at you like, well, we don't like that, so what else you got? What you mean, what else I got? Like, this is it. So, you know, that part can be pretty painful, just trying to find a story that you like, that you can make work. Because it also sucks when you try to pitch something that you can't make work, and then they're looking at you crazy. Reason number 3. Meeting people on their worst day. I can't tell you how many times I've had to talk to people after they just lost somebody, whether it be through natural causes, through violence, through a car crash. Just, you know, it just all the ways that people can pass away. And one of the first things they want you to do in TV news is go find a family, go find a family member, find a friend, find someone who knew this person who just died. And I hated doing that. I hated it so much because you never know how people are going to react. There's some people who actually want to talk to you because I feel like they think it's therapeutic, or, you know, they want people to know about this person, or they want justice for someone who maybe got killed or whatever. So they'll talk to you for those reasons. But I remember one time I did a story about this little girl. She was a bridesmaid, she was a flower girl in a wedding. And the day of, I think, rehearsals, or maybe it was the day of the wedding, I'm not exactly sure, there was a fatal car crash and the flower girl died. And of course, the managers, the people who don't have to leave the building, who don't have to knock on that door, who stay inside all day, they're like, go talk to that girl's family. Her parents were nice, or actually I only met her dad. The dad was nice, but he told me, like, I can't. He had already talked to another station, which is something else I get into. And he was like, I can't do it again. And it was just a sad story. And then, you know, obviously my manager wasn't happy when I got back and said, oh, he already talked to insert name of competition, but he's not going to talk to me. They tend to not like that. Especially when it's in a smaller market, which is what I was in at the time. So, you know, you just, like I said, you just never know how people are going to respond to you. I know colleagues of mine who have gotten cussed out trying to talk to somebody when somebody died. I thankfully never got cussed out. I got a door slammed in my face once. But I get it. Because, you know, I just want to leave people alone. But being in that profession, you can't do that. Now, there have been times, it's not funny, but there have been times when I've said that I tried to talk to somebody and I didn't. Just because I didn't want to bother them. So I just be like, oh, I went by the house and they weren't there. You know? It's hard. It's hard. Reason number 4. Weather. They don't care if it's a hurricane, if it's a tornado, if it's, you know, snow, whatever. You got to go out in it and tell people not to do the thing that you're doing. Hey, it's snowing outside. Stay home. I know I'm out on the roads, but you stay home. I reported in Hurricane Irene by myself. We'll get into that later. I've been out in snowstorms by myself. I actually got... Now, granted, this was in North Carolina, so it's not like a New York snowstorm, but, you know, for us, it was a big deal. I actually ended up on the side of the road because I didn't know what I was doing. And some nice man came by and told me out of a ditch. I was in the news car. He saw me sitting on the side of the road because it was a weekend. And I didn't really have any help. So he came and told me out. I ended up finding out who he was and I sent him a thank you card. But, you know, it can be unsafe. But, I mean, I know it's part of the job. I'm just telling you why I left. And I know a lot of these reasons don't pertain to everybody. You know, different people handle different things differently. I'm just giving you my experience. So, Next reason. There's a phrase in the business called a one-man band. What is that, you ask? It's exactly how it sounds. One-man band. I was the reporter, the photographer, the editor. I did all of it by myself. I would show up to people's houses or businesses for an interview. And they'd be like, "Where's your cameraman?" Like, you're looking at her. I know very few people who have never had to do it on their own. Once businesses realized that they could pay one person to do 2-3 jobs, that was the way they went. Every now and then you'll see a reporter out with a photographer, but I feel like those people and those opportunities are very few and far between. Every station that I worked at on air, I was a one-man band. Every now and then, depending on your story or depending on what area you're going to, they'll give you a photographer. But that's what they hired you to do, was to do it all yourself. So any day you got a cameraman, that was a treat. Reason number 7, stress. Coming up with story ideas, meeting deadlines, being nervous to talk to this lady whose husband just got killed, worrying about what the competition has and what you don't have, worrying about how fast you're going to be able to write the story, edit the story, upload the story, and be live at 5 o'clock. What else? Worrying about whose door you're knocking on, especially if you're by yourself. You're in a neighborhood, you're knocking on people's doors trying to get their reaction to a crime that just happened earlier that day. Again, you don't know whose doors you're knocking on. You don't know how the people are going to respond to you being there. It's a risk you take, and it's stressful. Reason number 8. And again, these are my personal experiences, my personal opinion. I know people who have been in the business since before me and are still in it. I know people who started not long after me and are still in it. I commend them. I know what they deal with. And it just ain't for me anymore. I personally feel like a lot of the news managers don't care about their employees. Here's my personal story. So, remember how I told you I was a one-man band and I did it all myself? That camera equipment was not light. I'll see if I can find a picture from back in the day when I thought it was cute to carry all that stuff. I had some very nice arm muscles, I'll give you that. But I was easily carrying around 40 or 50 pounds. I weighed like 90 some odd pounds back then. So I'm carrying half, if not a little more than my body weight. As a result of all that weight, I had some really bad back problems, to which I still struggle with this day. At one point, I was kind of hunched over. I ended up going to the chiropractor, and they told me one of my problems was that my left leg, I think it is shorter or longer. I can't remember, but one of my legs is shorter than the other. And that the bones in my lower back were twisting. And they said, "Are you carrying a lot of weight?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I carry camera equipment." And they were like, "That's part of the problem. That's part of why your back is all effed up, because all this weight you're carrying." So, I go to my manager, and mind you, I spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a chiropractor. And I haven't been in a while, and I can definitely tell that my back is starting to act up again. But, you know, I go to my manager. They saw me limping around looking crazy. Everybody thought something was wrong with like my ankle or something. I was like, no, it's my back. So I go to my manager at the time and I say, "Hey, you know, doctor's saying all this weight on my back is a problem. I'm going to need a cameraman." I was told, "Well, we hired a one-man band. So if you can't do that, we don't know why you're here. Not those exact words, but that was the gist of, we hired a one-man band and you need to be able to do the job. I told them I was unwilling to do the job because my health was at risk. They didn't give a damn. So I was prepared to leave, but another position, not good position, but another position opened up, and I was able to do that to keep checks coming in. But I was fully prepared to walk out that door and tell them to kiss the blackest part of my ass. Because I was like, I'm not about to break my back or do any further damage because of you and your lack of concern for your employees. But I ended up getting a desk job, so to speak. Still in the business, but behind the camera, because I was not about to be out there carrying all that stuff myself. And they was like, oh, we'll give you a cart. I never got a cart. Whatever. So I feel like a lot of news managers don't care about their employees because, like I said, they send you out in the storms by yourself. I was in a hurricane by myself. Back problems, unsafe neighborhoods, all of that. And you would think they say, oh, well, you know, maybe we shouldn't send that girl to that area alone or whatever. But, I mean, they don't have the staff and whatever. So there's that. Two more things. I feel like my food is getting kind of cold. I'm going to heat it up. Hold on. Alright, sorry about that. It was getting a little cold. I guess I've been talking too much. And again, this is just my personal experience. Another reason why I left, I felt the opportunities weren't there for me. Now, I feel like ultimately it just wasn't meant to be. But it took me a while because I kind of was getting down on myself as to why certain things that I wanted to happen wouldn't happen. So, I mean, it's a reason, but again, it doesn't apply to everybody. Actually, none of these things apply to everybody, just me personally. I ultimately wanted to be an anchor. Those are the people who come in. Now, granted, these aren't all stations, but from what I've seen, these are the people who come in. Some people come in not long before the show. You know, they stay in all day, take however long of a lunch break, as long as they're back before showtime. You know, don't really have to go out in the elements or anything like that. Like, again, not all stations, just some, but a lot of the anchors I feel have a very cushy position. You know, that's why a lot of the news people stay places as long as they do. So, you know, they're the people who get paid more, even though they're not out in the field. They get paid more money than the reporters. Now, granted, a lot of the times the anchors are people who have more experience. Not saying they didn't earn it, I'm just saying. So I wanted to be an anchor. I wanted to be the person who stayed in all day, didn't have to worry about my hair in the storm and, you know, just superficial stuff like that. And just, it's a sign that you've gotten better, you're doing better, you know, you've grown as a journalist. Reading that teleprompter is not for the faint of heart, you know, all that. So I wanted to be an anchor. I had 3 out of the 5 stations I worked at. Is it 5? I don't know, but 3 of my stations I wanted to anchor, and I let the managers know that. And they hit me with, oh yeah, just send us some stuff. You have to show that you can do it. So I would come in on my off days, get the crew behind the scenes, the people who used to do what I did, get them to come in and, you know, do a mock show for me so I could save it and give it to the managers. Oh yeah, this is good. And then they give the job to someone else with little to no explanation as to why I didn't get it, even when I asked for it. So after a few times of that happening, you know, you kind of start to be like, well, do I suck? And maybe I did. I don't think I did, but what it all boils down to is it wasn't meant for me. That wasn't my journey. That wasn't how it was supposed to end up. Now I'm in media relations, which is adjacent to TV, but it's better for me because I know what it's like to be in TV. I know what it's like to be a reporter, so I feel like I'm an asset to reporters. But the opportunities that I wanted while I was in the business just weren't there for me. So that's another reason why I left. And last but not least, stuff you can't see is why I left the business. Sometimes you arrive to a crash scene before the cops get there and the paramedics. So what does that mean? That means you see the body lying in the street. That means you see blood all over the concrete. That means you see the family. That means you see the family standing outside asking why they can't go in because somebody dead is inside. Sorry. That came out of nowhere. My point is, that stuff sits with you and you can't unsee it. Whoa, hold on. Whoa, what just happened? Sorry. Did not see that coming. But the stuff you see when you're out in the field, you can't unsee it. And I don't know how people like paramedics and cops, firefighters, I don't know how they do this shit every day. But yeah, the stuff you don't see, that, you know, you can't show that on TV because you want to be respectful to the people that it involves. So yeah, my point is it's a tough industry. Whoa, I'm so sorry. I did not expect that at all. It just kind of came out of blue. And then, like, when you talk to people who lost somebody and then, you know, they're crying and you're trying not to cry. Well, most people try not to cry. It's a lot. So, but you know, it's not all bad. There's some days you get to do cool stories. You get to go to the, what did I go to? I went to the circus once. For a story. You do get to meet really nice people who are trying to help, who are trying to do good things. So it's not all bad. But at the end of the day, I guess I just didn't cut it. So, for those of you who care, that's why I left the business. I still got a little bit of food to go, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I thank you for watching. Again, sorry for the tears. Did not expect that to come at all. I'm almost, I don't even know if I'm trying to edit that part out, because good Lord, what is that? Ma'am, this is not what we do here. But I thank you for watching. And until my next video, I'll see you later.